Is anyone still out there? This is Station Echo 9, what's left of it anyway. I've rerouted the generator twice, cleared the antenna manually, and kicked this busted console until it croaked back to life. So if you're hearing this, you're not dreaming. Or dead. Or maybe you are. And I'm just a noise crawling through the dark between our graves. Wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've heard lately. I used to start every shift with a weather report, a half-hearted joke, and a reminder that the roads north were still under construction. Now, I'm not even sure if there's a north anymore. Or roads. Or time. I haven't seen the sun in 6 days, and whatever's left of the sky is stuck in that gray, smothered kind of light. The kind that never changes. It's as if the world forgot how to turn. It wasn't bombs. Wasn't war. Wasn't anything with a headline you could pin blame on. Just things stopped. Systems cracked. Then buckled. Then fell. First the satellites, then the grids, then the feeds, the news, the phones. One by one, like someone was pulling cords behind the curtain. And when the noise stopped, that's when the silence began to feel dangerous. I stay behind. I'm still not sure why. This station is buried at the edge of town. A concrete bunker with a red door that never locks. Nobody comes here unless they're lost or curious. I suppose I was always a bit of both. When the others evacuated, I told them I'd catch up. I'm just going to log a few more tapes, I said. I'll check the tower one last time. I lied. I think they knew, but no one stopped me. It was easier to let people drift. Now it's just me and this microphone. And maybe you. There's a stack of emergency scripts here, all printed on old paper with big, bold titles. Do not read unless ordered. I've read them all. Some are full of nonsense. Chemical spill this, military procedure that. None of them mention the way the stars have started flickering like they're underwater. None of them talk about the hum in the ground, or the dreams. I've been broadcasting at random intervals. Sometimes I play old records. Sometimes I read from old logs. But mostly I just talk, because silence isn't peaceful anymore. It presses on the walls, gets into your skin, turns your breath into something that echoes back wrong. If you're alone long enough, even your heartbeat starts to sound like footsteps. You're probably wondering if I've seen anyone. I have. A few, actually. They were always distant. They're always fast. They're shapes that don't move the way they should. Last week, I saw someone or something standing in the tree line outside the station for an entire hour. It never approached. It just watched. I didn't go out. I just watched it. Eventually, it faded away. Or maybe I blinked and missed it. I don't know which is worse. There's still power here, somehow. I've got food for a few more weeks if I ration. Water's fine. The generator's holding up. But there's this feeling, like I'm living past an expiration date. Like everything was meant to end, and I just slipped through the cracks. If you're out there, really out there, send something. A voice. A pulse. Even static would be nice. Anything to let me know this isn't all just a loop inside my own head. Until then, I'll keep talking. Because if this really is the end of the world, then maybe someone should be here to say goodbye. The strange thing is that even after it all, after the lights died and the sky gave up, the memory hasn't faded. In fact, it's become sharper. It's as if the world ended and left behind nothing but recollection. I've been spending my nights, if you can call them that, going through old tapes. Not the station logs or broadcasts, but personal items. Cassette tapes, digital recorders, even an old reel-to-reel that I found in a dusty storage cabinet marked staff use only. Some of them are mine. Most aren't. I think they belong to the people who worked here before me, long before the static settled in. There's one tape that I keep coming back to. It's a recording of a girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, singing to herself while a TV plays faintly in the background. She doesn't know she's being recorded. It's not a performance. It's just life. An ordinary, quiet, unremarkable life. It's that ordinariness that hits you like a punch to the chest. Because we didn't know. We were always so loud and sure of ourselves. Underneath it all, something was already unraveling. Do you remember the last time you felt safe? I mean truly, utterly safe, when the air was just air and not something you study for clues? I think I do. It was nothing special. I was drinking coffee outside this station, listening to pigeons fight over breadcrumbs in the gravel lot. And I remember thinking how plain it all was. Just a Tuesday morning. Not remarkable in any way. And maybe that's why it stuck. We always think we'll recognize the big moments when they come, that we'll see the line in the sand where the world turns sideways. But it's never like that. It's always something small, a glitch in your phone, a weather pattern that doesn't break, a long silence between news alerts. And by the time you realize what you're living through, it's already behind you. Or worse, inside you. There used to be a family that lived 2 blocks down from here. The Marshalls. They were nice people. They used to bring cookies to the station on holidays. Their son, Eli, was a bit strange. He liked to sit in his yard with binoculars and chart birds and clouds. Sometimes he would come by the station and ask to see the transmitter room. I think he liked how everything in there hummed with invisible energy. It made the world feel like it had structure. Anyway, when everything went dark, I went to check their house. It was open, lights still on, food half prepped on the counter. No blood, no signs of struggle, just absence. Like they stepped out in the middle of something and never came back. That's been the pattern, mostly. Not carnage, not screams, just things left mid-sentence. I think that's what unnerves me the most. The unfinishedness of it all. Like the world was a story and someone stopped writing halfway through a sentence. I found Eli's binoculars on their porch. Now, I keep them near the console just in case. Sometimes, I use them to look out across the valley. Not for birds, there haven't been any for weeks, but for movement. Shadows. A flicker of light where there shouldn't be one. Nothing yet. I suppose the point of all this, if there is one, is that we built everything assuming that we would always be around to maintain it. Cities, networks, and algorithms. But we didn't leave instructions for how to cope with stillness, with emptiness. Now that it's all gone, memory is the only thing keeping me tethered. So I'll keep playing these old tapes, keep digging through the archive, not because I think it'll change anything, but because stories, even the forgotten ones, matter when there's no one left to tell them. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there remembers too. If you do, I'd love to hear your voice, even once, even if it's just a name. The silence is different now. When the station went quiet, what we call dead air, you would notice right away. Your ears would itch for sound. Even if it was just static, there was always something. But now, silence doesn't feel like an absence. It feels like a presence. It's as if something is there in the quiet, listening back. I've been running the frequency sweep every few hours. Manual analog slow. Nothing digital works right anymore. The screens still flicker, but they don't mean anything. Just numbers and dashes and ghost code scrolling endlessly. The sweep, though, it's more like a ritual now. I spin the dial, listen close, pause at anything that isn't pure white noise. And every once in a while, I catch it. A pattern. Not voices. Not music. Just rhythms. Pulses. Bursts of tone too regular to be coincidence. Too irregular to be machine. At first, I thought it was bleed through from old towers, a delay in the system, some backwash of broadcast signals echoing around the ionosphere. But then it started repeating. The same timing, the same rise and fall. It's like Morse code, but not. I've tried transcribing it, slowing it down, layering the audio. All I get is a sense that it means something, like it's language adjacent, like a throat trying to speak without lungs. And when I hear it, I feel this tightening in my ribs, like a hand curling around the middle of my chest. Not painful, just intentional. Sometimes I wonder if it's the earth itself trying to talk back. Not metaphorically, literally. Maybe whatever's happening to the planet, whatever's stripped it of birdsong and ocean sound and wind through the trees, maybe that vacuum needed filling. Maybe something else stepped in. I keep thinking about this thing we used to say in radio school. Nature abhors a vacuum. It was meant to explain why static fills the space when nothing's playing. But now, that phrase feels different. More like a warning. Maybe the world couldn't stand silence anymore. Maybe it pulled something through just to fill the gap. I've marked the frequency range 98.6 to 100.4 FM. It drifts slightly every day, like it's moving just out of reach. But I'll keep tracking it, because I don't think it's just noise. I think it's directional. Back before the collapse, we ran a show about conspiracy theories. Fun stuff, usually. Government weather machines, secret space prisons, moon colonies. But one night, a guy called in, said he was a former NSA signal analyst, claimed there were frequencies that didn't behave normally. That if you trace their movement across the map, it didn't form a pattern, it formed a path. Like the signals were walking. I laughed them off. Now I'm not so sure. What if this thing I'm hearing isn't coming from one place, but moving through places? What if it's looking for something? I've set up a recorder. It'll log the signal every time it pings. I don't know if it matters, but I want anyone to know this happened. To know that after the world went quiet, something kept talking. And I'm starting to think I'm not supposed to be hearing it. If you're out there and have your own rig running, I want you to tune in. Find that range. Listen for the rise and fall. You'll know it when you hear it. Your breath will catch. Your pulse will slow. And in that moment, maybe you'll understand. Silence isn't empty. It's waiting. I wasn't going to mention this part, but after last night, I can't ignore it anymore. The signal, it changed. Not just the pattern, not just the tone, but what I heard in between. You have to listen close. Not to the static itself, but what sits underneath it. Like a whisper caught beneath layers of dust. There's something there, just at the edge of recognition. A voice. A human one. Or something trying very hard to sound human. It started faint. I thought it was audio bleed from a tape I'd left running, or maybe my brain filling in gaps with what it wanted to hear. But then the phrase repeated. Exactly the same cadence, same pitch. 3 words. I couldn't catch the first one, too garbled. The second sounded like still, and the third was definitely here. Something's still here. I recorded it, played it back a dozen times, ran it through the old filter deck. I don't have the tools to clean it properly, but the repetition is clear. Every 37 minutes, on the dot, the voice returns. Same words, same tone. The weird thing is, the phrase feels less like a message to someone, and more like a reminder for someone. Like it's saying it to itself, over and over. I don't know what that means, and I'm not sure I want to. I've been thinking a lot about what this station meant before everything fell apart. Not just a transmitter or a bunker, it was a place where people called in, shared their songs, their birthdays, their weird dreams. Late-night drivers looking for company. People stuck in hospitals tuning in because they couldn't sleep. It was connective tissue, holding lives together in small, invisible ways. Now it feels like I'm tethered to the last nerve of a dead world. But that voice in the static, it means someone or something is still trying to reach out. The problem is, I'm starting to hear it when I'm not near the console. When I'm in the supply closet, when I'm cleaning the transmission bay, when I lie down and close my eyes, the voice plays in my head. Perfectly timed. Always 37 minutes apart. I marked it on the wall. Every tick, every phrase. I even started answering back, just in case. Yes, I'm here. Still here. It feels ridiculous, but it also feels necessary. Like I'm anchoring myself to the only other voice I have. There was a call light on the switchboard this morning. Just one blink. No signal, no sound, nothing. But that light hasn't worked since the generator started running intermittent. And it was on. Maybe it was a glitch. Or maybe it wasn't. I know I should be more scared. I know the rational thing to do is shut it all down, stop listening, go somewhere I can't hear it. But if you've ever known what it's like to be truly, absolutely alone, then you'll understand why even a broken voice in the dark can feel like salvation or a warning. I don't know if the voice is trying to comfort or lure. I don't know if it's human or something older, buried deep in the static of the planet itself. But I'm going to keep listening. I don't think I have a choice anymore. And if you're picking this up, if your dial is cracked to the same frequency, then maybe you've heard it too. Maybe we're both still here. For now, time's gotten slippery out here. I can't tell you how many days it's been, because the clocks have stopped ticking with any meaning. I've been using meal packets and journal pages to track the passing. Every time I eat, I write something down. But even that's starting to feel like pretending. Pretending there's a structure left. Pretending that routine can still hold back the tide of whatever's coming. I think a lot about conversation, the rhythm of it. Not even the words, just the act of being heard. We took that for granted. The way people respond, even with silence, even with a glance. Now when I talk, there's nothing, not even birds, no rustle of leaves, just the buzz of old machinery and the pulse of my own voice bouncing back at me from these concrete walls. Solitude changes your brain. It stretches out your thoughts until they lose their shape. I find myself asking questions I never would have asked before, like, When did I last see my reflection? When did I last touch another person's hand? Would I even know how to talk face to face now? Or would my voice break apart? There's a mirror in the bathroom down the hall. I've been avoiding it. Not out of fear, exactly, just uncertainty. I don't want to look and not recognize what I've become. I still feel like myself in here, but the body is another story. Thin, tired, maybe older than it should be. Sometimes I wonder if staying behind was a slow kind of dying. Not violent, just gradual, like fading ink. But then something strange happened yesterday. I was sitting in the hallway outside the transmission room. No reason, just couldn't sit under the humming lights anymore. I was watching the shadow under the door shift with the generator's pulse. And for a second, I swear I heard footsteps. Not mine, not the sound of shifting metal or creaking pipes. Actual steps, light, deliberate, pausing just outside the door. And I didn't move. I didn't call out. I just waited. Nothing opened. Nothing spoke. But I felt watched. Not in a paranoid way. In the way a house feels when someone else is inside it, even if you haven't seen them yet. That pressure in the walls. That shift in the air. I sat there for over an hour, just breathing, listening. It didn't come again. I keep telling myself I imagined it. That solitude's gotten so heavy, it's pressing hallucinations into my skull like fingerprints into clay. But what if it wasn't? What if someone else is here, staying just far enough back? Or worse, what if I'm not the one being haunted? What if this place is? I don't know what keeps me going, to be honest. There's no big mission, no survival plan. I'm not out scavenging or building fortresses. I'm just here, talking, thinking, remembering, keeping the signal alive in case someone, somewhere, is close enough to catch the tail end of this frequency. Because that's the worst part of solitude. Not the silence, but the idea that you could be surrounded by voices and never know. That someone could be just a few walls away, also thinking they're the last one left. So I'll keep talking, keep logging the hours with words. And if you're still there, if you're real, I hope this reaches you. Not just the transmission, but the feeling behind it, the truth behind the words. Because even though I'm alone, I'm still trying to connect. There's something about abandoned places that makes your brain fill in the blanks. You walk into a room that's been empty for who knows how long, and you start imagining the people who were just there, what they were doing, what they left behind. You begin constructing lives from debris. A half-written note, a broken coffee mug, a shoe without its pair. It's like trying to reconstruct a dream from ashes. I ventured out this morning, first time in a while. Just needed air that didn't smell like ozone and dust. The sky was low, colorless, like the world forgot how to render light. I walked into town, not far, about a half hour on foot, though it felt longer. Streets were cracked, weeds already forcing their way through the seams. The buildings stood like open mouths, windows gone, doors swinging on dead hinges. And yet, it wasn't empty. I don't mean people. I haven't seen anyone in weeks. I mean the feeling of it all. Like the air still remembered the humans who used to fill it. You ever walk into a room and know someone just left? That's what it felt like. But bigger, deeper, like a memory pressed into the earth. I passed the diner on 4th Street, place used to serve the worst coffee and the best pancakes. The open sign still hung crooked in the window. Inside, the tables were set, forks aligned, syrup bottles full, plates cleared. It didn't look ransacked. It looked paused. On one of the booths, someone had left a backpack. Inside was a sketchbook, mostly full. Drawings of buildings, faces, hands. A few were dated, just weeks before everything fell quiet. The last page had only 2 lines, written carefully. If we're still out there, we should meet where the river turns. No name, no map, just that. I don't know what it meant, but I tore the page out and brought it back. Couldn't leave it behind. It felt too honest. That's what's been haunting me. Not fear, not death, but unfinishedness. These fragments of humanity that never got to finish their story. Like the whole world trailed off mid-sentence. And now we're stuck, the few of us left, inside the ellipsis. I went by the elementary school. Empty, of course, but the chalkboards still had notes on them. Quiz Monday. Field trip forms due. It made me angry, for some reason. Like how dare the world end without warning those kids? Without giving them one last song, one last laugh, one last good morning. And then there was the mural. On the side of the gym, There's a mural that some community group painted years ago. I never paid it much attention before, but now it looks different. It shows people holding hands, standing in a circle. All ages, all kinds, and around them, the sky is breaking open into light. It hit me harder than anything else, because I realized we always believed someone would see us, that we mattered enough to be noticed, even in the end. Maybe that's why I keep this station alive. Not just to talk, but to be witnessed, to prove that we were here. I'm going to keep collecting these fragments, writing them down, speaking them aloud. Maybe someone else will do the same. Maybe we can stitch together enough pieces to remember what it felt like to be human, really human, not just surviving in the aftermath. So if you find this frequency and you've got a story, speak it. Even if it's short, even if it's broken, someone out there might need it. I know I do. It's quiet now, but I don't think I'm alone anymore. It's not paranoia, not just the usual edge that creeps in when you've been living with your own echo for too long. This is something different, more deliberate. I've started noticing things, small, easy to dismiss details that, on their own, wouldn't matter. But taken together, they tell a story. Well, I don't think I'm supposed to be part of. It started with the footprints. Out by the old fence behind the station is a patch of soil where nothing grows because it's too rocky and dry. That's where I saw the footprints. A clear set heading toward the building. Not away, not mine. I wore boots with thick soles. These were different, smaller, narrow, no tread. The weirdest part was that they ended at the edge of the concrete. They just stopped. There was no return path and no scuffing, as if someone had hopped off. They were just gone. I told myself it could be wind, animals. Maybe I walked in circles without noticing. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had stood there, looking in, watching. A couple of nights later, I found the door to the relay room open. I never leave it open. The handle sticks and drags on the floor, so you have to yank it hard to open it. Nothing was missing or out of place, but a chair had been moved. It was turned just slightly toward the hallway, as if someone had sat there listening, or waiting. Then came the smell. Not rot, not mold. Something sharp, metallic, almost electrical, like ozone after a lightning strike, but deeper. It hit me as soon as I opened the equipment room, and then it faded. Just like that. Gone. The smell, the feeling, everything. That's when I stopped sleeping properly. Started keeping a log, times, sounds, flickers of motion in the corner of my eye. I've counted 12 distinct incidents in the last 5 days. Most of them small. A shift in the shadow under the console. A cold patch near the back door. Static that cuts out right before the voice in the signal is supposed to repeat. All subtle, all deniable, but they add up. Whatever this is, it doesn't want to be seen, but it wants me to know it's here. I tried confronting it once, sat in front of the mic and said, "If you're there, do something. Show yourself." I waited. 5 minutes, 10. Nothing. Just as I was about to stand, the power flickered. Just for a second. Long enough to reset the clocks. That's never happened before. I don't think it's hostile. If it wanted me gone, I'd be gone. This feels more like observation. Study. Like I'm part of some experiment I never signed up for. A specimen under glass. Or maybe it's curious. Maybe it's as alone as I am. But here's the part one haven't told you yet. Last night I heard breathing. Not mine. Not the wind. It came from just beyond the transmission booth. Low and even. The kind of breathing someone makes when they're close and try not to make noise. I froze. Didn't move for almost 15 minutes. Then I turned the mic on and started talking. Just nonsense. Weather, memories, old radio slogans. Anything to fill the space. And the breathing stopped. But I swear, before it did, I heard it match my rhythm. Inhale when I did. Exhale when I did. As if it was learning. Copying. So if you're listening to this, and you're alone, I want you to do something for me. Tonight, before you sleep, listen closely. Not to what's there, but what's almost there. The breath between beats. The weight in the air. We might not be alone. We might never have been. I've been watching the sky again. Not for answers, just for anything familiar. But it's not the sky I remember. The stars are wrong. I noticed it a few nights ago, lying on the roof of the station with a blanket and an old field guide I used to use on camping trips. I flipped to the constellations, Orion, Cassiopeia, the Big Dipper. Easy ones, obvious ones. They're gone, or they've moved, tilted just enough to look almost right. like someone took the sky and shuffled it slightly, just to see if we'd notice. There's one bright, sharp cluster of lights that I don't recognize. It pulses sometimes, not visibly, but after staring at it for a while, it starts to feel like it's blinking, like it's trying to signal something. At first, I thought it was my eyes. Stress, dehydration. But the same stars appear at the same spot, same angle, every night. And every night, the feeling gets stronger, like it's looking back. Do you know what it feels like to be seen by something you can't understand? Not just observed, but registered. Like you've become data in something else's memory. That's what the sky feels like now. Before the collapse, there was a scientist, Dr. Levitt, I think her name was, who did a segment on this station about dark matter and signals from space. She said most people think space is silent, but it's not. It's filled with background radiation, with echo. We're swimming in signal, she said. The trick is figuring out which ones are meant for us, and which ones we're not supposed to hear. I didn't understand it then. I think I do now. Whatever's happening, it didn't start here. It started out there. Something changed, and we were downstream of it, like fish in a poisoned river. And I wonder, did we hear something we weren't supposed to? Did we pick up the wrong signal, reply at the wrong time? Did something hear us back? That voice in the static, the one I told you about, hasn't stopped. But now, it's syncing with the stars. Each time the signal repeats, an unfamiliar constellation pulses. Not visibly, not to the naked eye, but the instruments, what's left of them, pick it up, a spike, a pattern. It's not natural. I don't know how I know that. I just do. There's this idea that we've always been alone, that the universe is vast and empty, and Earth was the fluke. But what if that was just our arrogance talking? What if we've never been alone? What if we've just been ignored? Until now. Last night, I found myself whispering to the sky. Not a prayer, not a plea, just questions. Who are you? What do you want? Why now? No answer. But the constellation blinked. Just once. I don't think they're coming. I think they're already here. And maybe they always were. Hidden behind the stars we thought we knew. If you're still listening, stay inside. Watch the sky. But don't let it see too much of you. They're old things watching. Patient things. And I don't think they're interested in saving us. You remember those old emergency broadcast tests? The ones with the piercing tone, the flat voice, and the text bar scrolling across the bottom of the screen? This is a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test. Every time I saw it, even as a kid, I felt uneasy. Like we were rehearsing for something no one really knew how to survive. Today, I saw one again. It wasn't on TV. That's long dead. But on the auxiliary monitor in the engineering room. Screen hasn't worked in weeks. It flickered on. Just for a moment. Enough to display color bars, grainy and smeared like oil on glass. And beneath it, one word in red, waiting. I didn't touch the equipment. Didn't reboot anything. The monitor's not even connected to a live feed. And yet it lit up. Ran the test. Went black again. I don't know if it was a glitch, but I don't think it was for me. It felt like a signal being sent and received by something else. Something I just happened to witness. That word keeps looping in my head. Waiting. For what? For us to rebuild? For someone to respond? Or for the right conditions? What if this isn't aftermath at all? What if it's setup? Like the world had to be emptied before whatever comes next could begin? We always imagine the apocalypse as a bang. Fire, flood, explosions. But maybe it's quieter. Slower. More like a reset. Clear the slate. Prepare the system. What's worse, I'm starting to suspect I'm not the only one who saw it. Not because I've spoken to anyone, God, I wish I had, but because things keep being moved. Out of place. Tools rearranged in the workroom. Paper clips stacked into tiny spirals I never made. One morning, I found the transmitter preset to a frequency I hadn't touched. And when I tuned in, I heard breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Like someone was waiting for me to say something. I didn't. I turned it off and unplugged the board for the rest of the day. I've been having dreams, too. Not nightmares exactly, just repeating scenes. Standing in a hallway that never ends. Hearing my own voice echo back from ahead, saying words I haven't spoken yet. And there's always a screen. Always that test pattern. Always the word, waiting. Maybe that's what the silence means now. Not absence, but anticipation. I remember something from years ago, some science article about time dilation. How under the right conditions, moments can stretch. Seconds can become minutes, hours. The fabric of things slows down. Maybe we're caught in something like that. The end didn't come all at once. It just paused. And now something's watching to see what we do next. I keep thinking maybe this is a test. That someone or something wants to know what we become when we're left with nothing but ourselves. Do we build or break? Do we scream into the void? Or do we listen? I'm trying to listen. So far, I've only heard myself. But the screen lit up once. And it might again. If it does, I'll be here, still waiting. It happened again today. I was in the archives, sorting through old recordings, and I found one I didn't recognize. No label, just a faint pencil mark. 19A. I figured it was some old staff broadcast or maybe a student project. This station used to run community programs before things fell apart. I queued it up on the real deck, hit play, and leaned back. But it wasn't a broadcast. It was me. It's not my voice now. It's slower and raspier from solitude, but it's still unmistakably me. My tone, my cadence, saying things I haven't said yet. It started normal, casual, like any of these logs, talking about silence, memory, the feeling of being left behind. But then it shifted. The voice on the tape started describing things I hadn't experienced. A crack in a transmission booth glass, a burned-out bulb in hallway 3, a missing box of recordings, all of which happened yesterday. It was like listening to a memory I hadn't made yet, like I'd already lived it and forgotten, or like the world is on a loop and I'm catching echoes from previous cycles. I let it play for 20 minutes. At the very end, just before the tape hissed out, the voice said, "Don't trust the sound when it starts repeating." That's all. That's when I shut it off. I went back to check the hallway bulb. Still burned out. The crack in the booth. Still there. And the box. Still gone. So, I did what anyone would do and searched for 19A. I checked the logs, the shelves, and every backup I could find. Nothing. No entry. No record. The tape exists, but it's not supposed to. This means that someone or something is planning things here. Or maybe the station's caught in some kind of loop. A bubble of time that plays variations of itself over and over, seeing what changes. Or doesn't. I've started noticing more odd repetitions. Patterns I didn't catch before. The same line of static between every third transmission. The same breeze slipping under the door at 2:11 a.m. The same crow perched on the tower every morning, despite there being no other birds. How long has this been going on? More importantly, what happens when the loop completes? I've started a second log. It's a comparison sheet. I'm trying to track overlaps, deviations, and anything else that might prove this isn't in my head. If you're listening and have noticed something similar, a detail you're sure you've already experienced, write down. Document everything. There's a pattern here. We just have to find it. Sometimes I think the world didn't end. It just glitched, broke its routine, and is trying to restart from a corrupted save point. And I'm trapped in the reboot process. I know how that sounds. But when I played the tape again, I heard a line at the end of the voice, my voice, that I hadn't caught the first time. Loop's thinning. Don't break the broadcast. It's the only way out. I don't know what that means. But I'm not turning off this mic. Not yet. If someone's looping with me, maybe they'll hear this. Maybe next time, we loop together. I didn't sleep last night. Or maybe I did. But if so, it was the kind of sleep where you wake up more exhausted than before, like your brain's been running laps behind your eyelids. I was lying there, staring at the ceiling, trying not to think about the tape, when the receiver buzzed on its own. Not the normal static or hum. This was sharp, precise, like a pulse. For short blips, then silence. For again, then silence. I thought maybe it was a flare. We used to get interference when solar storms hit the upper atmosphere, back when satellites still mattered. But this wasn't wideband noise. It was on a single, dead frequency, 107.3, one of the ones no one uses out here. It's been silent since everything fell apart. So I tuned in, and it was there. Not just a signal, a voice. It was one I didn't recognize, and I've spent years cataloging voices. The voice was modulated in a strange way, deliberate, as if someone were trying to mimic the patterns of human speech, but not quite getting it right. It kept repeating a single phrase. I wrote it down as best I could. We exist beneath your ruin. Return to shape. Then silence. Then static. I replayed the recording over and over, isolating the sounds, running it through my old filters. The phrase doesn't make sense. Return to shape? It's like a translation error, like meaning got lost between language and intention. But it felt loaded with purpose, like a demand disguised as a riddle. And here's the part that's been gnawing at me. After that transmission ended, I couldn't hear myself for a moment. Not literally. I spoke out loud to test the mic, and nothing came out. My lips moved, throat worked, but no sound. It lasted maybe 10 seconds. Then my voice came back, hoarse like it had been gone longer than that. It's like the signal took something. I've heard of frequency bleed before, when a strong signal overrides another and permanently alters its carrier wave. But this felt like something bled into me, like I was the receiver. I checked the surrounding channels. 107.2 was clear. 107.4, same. But right there, locked between the cracks, was that voice. Repeating, fading, whispering something I wasn't meant to catch. I wonder if there are more like it. Frequencies that don't belong. Places where sound leaks in from somewhere else. Not a country, not a satellite, another state of being. What if when the world ended, it didn't end? It shifted, peeled like wallpaper, and whatever lies behind the paper is bleeding through now. Slowly, first as signal, then voice, then presence. I haven't turned the receiver off since. I'm afraid I'll miss something. Afraid it'll try to speak again, and this time, I won't be able to answer. And yet, part of me wonders, what if it already knows I'm listening? What if that's the whole point? If you're out there, standing on the edge of a broken station or a buried antenna farm, or holding a worn-out portable under a dying sky, tune in to 107.3. Let it in, but don't speak. Not first. See if it remembers your shape. I know how that sounds. Believe me, I wouldn't say it if I wasn't absolutely sure. But I went up the ridge this morning to check the relay lines, the ones that run to the northern backup antenna. And when I looked back toward the station, the tower wasn't where it was supposed to be. It wasn't far, maybe 15 feet if that, but it was off-center, tilted, like it had shifted during the night. That tower has been bolted into the foundation for 20 years. The concrete base alone is nearly 6 feet deep. It would take equipment, labor, time, none of which I have out here. And yet it moved. I went back and checked the logs. Photos, maps, anything. Even the old station maintenance records. Everything confirms it hasn't budged since installation. But now it's not lined up with the building's north edge anymore. It's skewed just enough to be wrong. I stood out there for an hour, trying to convince myself I was mistaken. That maybe I'd remembered it wrong. But I haven't. The sun used to cast a perfect shadow down the eastern wall at 9:14 a.m. It doesn't anymore. The shadow falls at an angle. The geometry has changed. Something's moving it. The question is why? What if it's not just a tower? What if it's more than a transmitter, more than steel and wire? What if it's acting like an antenna, not just for signal, but for something else? We assume radio waves only go one way, from us out. But what if this whole time, something's been sending them back? And now, with the world gone quiet, there's nothing to drown it out. I've noticed the signal stronger at night now. More stable, less static, more clarity. It's like the dead air has made space for something else to rise. Maybe that's what needed to happen. The end wasn't destruction, it was decluttering, making room for the new broadcast to come through. And maybe the tower's tuning itself. I keep thinking about the phrase from before, return to shape. It's like it's trying to recalibrate. Like whatever's speaking through the bleed is trying to align us with something older, something buried. Maybe it's not just the frequencies that have loops. Maybe space does too, or time, or memory. What happens when the tower finishes moving? What does it point to? I've started marking the ground around the base. Every hour, I note the angle of the shadow, the position of the bolts, the lean of the spire. It's not random. There's a pattern, subtle, fractal, recursive, like it's spiraling inward towards something, or outward. I don't think we built this station for what's coming. I think we repurposed it. I think it was always meant to listen, or call, and now the call is being returned. If you got a tower, any kind, any height, watch it. Check your shadows. We're not just receivers anymore. We're part of the broadcast. Tonight, the signal responded. I've been broadcasting on loop, my usual routine, updates, weather, musings, fragments of voices I thought maybe someone out there might still recognize. But at 3:07 a.m., the loop broke. Not because of interference or static, but because something else cut in. It didn't override me. It joined me. At first, I thought I'd left a file running, some old recording, but it wasn't my voice. It wasn't any voice I've heard before. It sounded too smooth, almost synthetic, like it had been stitched together from pieces of other voices. Male, female, young, old, all at once, and none of them right. It said, received, pulse match confirmed, construct alignment complete. Then silence, and then a tone, low, thrumming, deep enough to shake the frame of the broadcast booth. The kind of sound you don't hear so much as feel right behind your ribs. I tried responding. I asked who they were, what they wanted, where they were broadcasting from. Nothing. Just the tone, holding, steady, humming like the inside of a machine that's just woken up. It lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, all the power in the station cut out at once. Not just the lights. Everything. The backup generator didn't kick in. The emergency systems stayed dead. For a full 7 minutes, I sat in total silence. No hum, no buzz, not even the tick of the battery clock. Just dark. Still. And in that stillness, I swear I felt movement. Not sound, not vibration. Pressure, like the building had been picked up and placed somewhere else. Or maybe like I had. No proof of it, of course. When the power returned, everything looked the same. But I don't think it is. The tower had moved again, more than before. And the stars, they weren't in the same place. I used to track Polaris, the North Star, with a paper quadrant and a broken telescope. It's gone now, replaced by a cluster that wasn't there last night. Brighter, redder, arranged in a spiral that spins if you look long enough. Something's changed, and now, I'm certain I'm not the last one left. But that doesn't bring comfort. Not anymore, because whatever answered it wasn't human. It may have once used human voices. Borrow them, learn from them. But that broadcast tonight wasn't meant for comfort or connection. It was a status report, a confirmation. Construct alignment complete. That's what it said. So what's the construct? This building? This station? Me? Is the transmission still mine? Or have I become part of theirs? If you've been hearing strange voices bleed into your speakers, if your tower has started drifting, if your sky is no longer yours, log it. Mark it. You're not imagining it. The signal has reached back. And now we're part of its design. I think the broadcast is ending. Not mine, the broadcast. The one behind everything. The one that's been threading its way through dead frequencies, lacing itself in a static and silence, building towards something we were never meant to hear. I can feel it winding down like the last few turns of clock before it stops ticking. And I think that's why I'm still alive. Not spared, not chosen, just kept. Like a witness at the edge of a stage no one was ever supposed to see. This morning, the tower stopped moving. The bolts at its base, half pulled from the concrete, just froze. I watched for an hour. No creaks, no sway, no change in shadow. It was done. It had pointed where it needed to point. A final alignment. I don't know if the signal needed time, or space, or geometry to finish its pattern, but now it's finished. And so is the sky. I woke to a different kind of light. Not dawn, something colder, pale, a spectrum that didn't exist before. The clouds were perfectly still, like frozen smoke. And the stars, what's left of them, now flicker in unison, as if waiting for a cue. I haven't heard birds in weeks. Haven't seen animals either. No bugs, no wind. It's like the planet exhaled for the last time and forgot to breathe back in. But the station's still powered. The transmitter's still humming. Even after the grid failed, even after the backup systems died for good, the board lights stayed on. Dim, sure, but constant. I haven't touched the cables in days. Haven't had to. I don't think I'm running this anymore. I've stopped recording my own voice. It doesn't feel necessary now. The mic is open. The booth is quiet. I sit here, hour after hour, just waiting, listening. Occasionally, I hear voices on the other end, distant, not quite mine. Sometimes they echo phrases I've spoken days ago. Sometimes they speak in a rhythm that feels too familiar, like an answer forming before I even ask the question. Today, one of them said, "You've reached the end of the tape." No preamble, no tone, just that. Calm, almost kind. It hit me harder than I expected, because it feels like the end of something. Not just the broadcast, not just the world, but the part of us that thought we were the narrators of our own story. Maybe we were just a relay, a carrier wave, the background hum for something older to re-emerge. Maybe that's why the stars shifted. Maybe that's why the silence came. Not to erase us, to overwrite us. But here's the thing. If you're hearing this, it means the signal hasn't taken everything. It means you're still out there, still tuned in. And that matters. Because maybe this isn't a broadcast at all. Maybe it's a handshake. Maybe the end was never meant to be the final word. Maybe it was just the static before the true signal came through. I'll keep the mic open, as long as it lets me. And if I fade out mid-sentence, if one day the voice that greets you here isn't mine, remember this. We were here. We reached back. We listened. And for a while, the signal listened too.